Hello boys and girls, welcome to the Math Club. In this video, we're going to talk about inverse function and how to find the inverse function of functions. Question 5. Find the inverse function of. First we have a, y equals 3x. How can we answer this? It's very easy. We just follow the steps. Now let's do it here. Y equals 3x, so we write it here. Y equals 3x. Now, the first step we do is what? The first step, we change the x and the y. To find the inverse function first, we have to change the places of the x and the y without changing anything else. So x equals 3y. Very good. This is the first step in finding any inverse function. Changing the places of the x and the y, or replacing the x with the y and the y with the x. Now, after finishing the first step, now the idea of finding the inverse function is putting y alone and getting rid of any number next to it. Now here we have 3 multiplied by y. We want to remove the 3, and because it's multiplied, we have to do the opposite here. And the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we divide this side by 3. And because we divided this side by 3, we have to do the same with the other side. So whatever you do to this side, you do to the other side. So we divide on 3 here. Now, when you divide, 3 will go with the 3 as a simplifying, because 3 divided 3 is 1. And the answer will be y equals x divide 3. So y equals x divide 3. And this is the final answer, or the inverse function of this function. Now, these steps are very easy. If you focus on them and follow the steps, you will find the inverse function. This is the answer for A. Now, let's go ahead and answer B. Focus on the steps and follow each step alone. Now, let's check B. First, let's remove all of this. Now, let's start with B. Y equals x negative 4, or x minus 4. Same idea. We're going to write it here. We say y equals x minus 4. Same steps. The first one is what? Very good. Replacing the y and the x. So the x comes here and the y comes here. So the equation will be x equals y negative 4. Now we want to get rid of the numbers next to the y. It's a negative 4. So we do the opposite for negative 4 on both sides. So we do positive 4 here and positive 4 on the other side. So it's going to be x plus 4 or 4 plus x. It's the same. Now, when we simplify, here we will have x plus 4 or 4 plus x. It's the same. Equals. Now here, negative 4 plus 4 equals 0. So we left y alone. And this is how you find the inverse function, by finding y alone. So the answer is y equals x plus 4. And this is the inverse function for question B. Now, let's go ahead and find C. As I told you, you have to focus on the steps. The first step is replacing the x and the y, and then putting the y alone, as we did here, by doing the opposite with the numbers next to the y. Now, let's remove all of this and start answering C. Question C. Y equals x divide 2. Let's go ahead and write it here. Y equals x divide 2. Good. So the first step is what? Very good. Replacing the x and the y. So putting the x here and the y here. So it's going to be x equals y divide 2. x equals y divide 2. Now, to get rid of the numbers next to the y here, we have divide 2. We have to do the opposite of divide 2, which is what? Very good. It's multiplying. So the opposite of divide 2 is multiplying. So we multiply this side by 2. And because we multiplied this side, we have to do the same with this side. So we multiply it by 2. And it's going to be 2x equals, when you simplify, this 2 will go with this 2. And we're left with y. So y equals 2x. Or 2x equals y, it's the same. And this is how you find the inverse function for C. Now, let's go on and answer D. First, let's remove everything here. Now, let's check D. In question D, y equals x plus 5. Same idea, we're going to write it here. Y equals x plus 5. First step is what? Very good. Replacing the x and the y by each other. Focus on the first step. If you do the first step correctly, you'll find the answer in no problem. So x, let's do it here. X equals y plus 5. Now, we have a plus 5 next to the y. We want to get rid of it. So we do the opposite to it. And the opposite of plus 5 is, very good, negative 5. And because we put negative 5 here, on this side, we have to do the same with the other side. So it's going to be x minus 5. So x here, negative 5. So x minus 5 equals, now in this side here, plus 5 minus 5 equals what? Equals 0. Very good. So plus 5 minus 5 equals 0. And we left y alone. So we write y here. So the answer is y equals x minus 5. And this is how you find the inverse function for D. Now, as we said, we say it again and again, focus on the steps. Start with the first step by replacing x and the y. And then try to move all the numbers next to the y to the other side by doing the opposite on both sides, and then find y equals, or the inverse function. Now, let's remove all of this and answer E. Question E. Y equals negative 2x. Let's write it here. Y equals negative 2x. First step is what? Very good. Replacing the y and the x. So, x equals negative 2y. Good job. Second step, what do? We take a look at the equation. We want to put y alone. And we find out that negative 2 is multiplied by y. Very good. So we do the opposite of multiplying. Very good. We divide on negative 2. And because we divided this side on negative 2, we're going to divide the other side the same way. So divide on negative 2. Good job. Now after dividing, we will simplify this with this, and we will end up with y. So y here equals x divided by negative 2, or we write it like this, y equals x divide negative 2. And this is the inverse function for question E. Now, as I told you, steps, follow them, you'll end up with the correct answer. Now, let's remove all of this and answer F. Question F, y equals negative x. That's very easy. Now, let's follow the steps and then we answer it. So, y equals negative x. So, what's the first step here? Very good. The first step is replacing the x and the y. So it's going to be what? X equals negative y. Very good. Now we follow the steps and put y alone. Now here we have negative, which is multiplied by the y. So it's like negative 1 multiplied by the y. And because it's multiplied, when we do the opposite of multiplying, we divide. Very good. So we divide on negative 1 and divide on negative 1, because whatever you do on this side, you do it to the other side. Now, after dividing on negative 1, we simplify numbers together. So negative 1 goes with negative 1, we end up with y. So we write y here equals, and then x divided by negative 1 is negative x. Good job. So y equals negative x, we can write it both ways. It can be the same. Now, this is the inverse function of this function. And this is how you answer a question like this. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.